All right, we're live. Rhea is running the show. She's doing a great job. She's a future content creator. She has content somewhat, but I see great things in Rhea's future. We are talking about the Amico. We got some great guests here, semi-retired Melons and ye old Nerdcast, which I'm really excited to talk to. We were vibing before backstage. I'm like, yeah, these are great guys. I'd love to talk to them, but I really ultimately Rhea is a lot more organized than I am. I just go live. Sometimes I go live by accident. I've done that before and I stay live.
That's my style too. So.
Yes, but Rhea is really organized. She has some points she wants to talk to you about. So that's why she's in the top spot. She's controlling the show. Go ahead, Rhea. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, thank you, Max, for having our latest and greatest guests on the show for the first time ever. Ye Old Nerdcast, Devin and Justin. Can y'all give our audience just a little bit of a rundown of like your history with movie just commenting on stuff online and just how you came across our latest topic of the night, the Amico.
Well, okay, yeah, we're Ye Old Nerdcast. I'm Devin. This is Justin.
I like how you did it in Old English. Like you did
I have
the E.
to. I have to.
You
That's
went
how
all the
it's
way.
spelled. Ye Old Nerdcast.
You were all in.
Yeah, so we just provide a lot of commentary with our own brand of comedy and insight around all things nerd, whether it's video games, mostly video games and movie, but sometimes we talk pop culture stuff. Sometimes we talk, when it's relevant, we talk music stuff or anything else that, any one of us has any kind of, passion about. So we're a channel that's devoted to the nerdosphere. You can see my X-Men thing back there. And I've got a lot to say about X-Men comics.
Poster.
Just one. I have a pile of stuff right there.
You're like, no, I'm keeping it.
But I just have the one. So yeah, we're and as far as how we got into the Amico thing, well, on one of my live streams, just as a total stream of consciousness sort of situation, I opened up the infamous Kotaku article, read the headline, and had no idea. I think the headline was something like the Intellivision Amico is a car crash or something to that effect. And I had no idea that Intellivision was even still an active brand, let alone were developing a console. So it just completely blew my mind that this was a thing. And I was like, okay, I need to figure out what this is. And the first thing I did was watch, I guess it was an E3 video that Tommy Tallarico did for the Intellivision Amico. And I watched the whole thing and, provided whatever silly commentary I had throughout it. But for the most part, I thought it looked pretty neat and whatnot. And I was like, okay, let's see what this car crash situation is about. I read the article, posted that video, and was subsequently bombarded by a series of comments, equally passionate, but, half positive and half negative. And I was just sitting there.
Really split it right down the middle.
Right down the middle, right? And I was just like, what is all of this? So that was my introduction into this world.
Mine too.
Yours too.
Literally, mine too. Like I was introduced because we used to have a YouTube channel that a few of our friends, like Max, started it, and we'd all get together called the PlayStation Plus Podcast, and we had Tommy on to interview him. We had it on at the time we were bouncing from different channels. So one week Max would have the PlayStation Plus Podcast on his channel, then like 1 week it would be on mine. So that week it was on our friend Matt's. And when he uploaded the first part of the Tommy Tallarico interview, same thing, bombarded with a ton of comments. And I'm sitting there like, what the heck? So yeah, literally same thing with me.
Interesting. I guess that's like, if there was any one question I would ask about this entire thing is like, where does this intense level of passion come from on both sides? Like,
it's the internet.
I know. That's like a general answer, but there has to be more to it than just that.
Well, it's
there's definitely like a.
There's a what?
Oh, go ahead, Rhea.
I was going to mention before we dive into the topics, I did want to give Max a chance to just give a quick little thesis statement on the state of the Amico, and then we have some some segments where we can dive into recent events and kind of give our responses to those too, if that sounds good.
All right. There have been mistakes getting this product to the public. There are also pandemic things to consider. The controller is really what's different, and that's the reason it's taken so long. The cost of it, making it as a smaller company, not like the big three, to make a smaller production run and not put your company in bankruptcy, along with the rising costs of the pandemic, the shortage of parts. But there's also been mistakes of not having everything complete, ready to go either. It's not like every game is done. There have been announcements at the beginning, and this is my biggest criticism. I said directly to Tommy, I've interviewed him many times. I'm like, you cannot be specific on the internet. Say this is our goal and target, because things change. Even if you think it's a simple idea, and that was the whole idea, to make it more simple, but to have a unique control idea. Do not give the internet wants you to give specifics so they can like, look, you're wrong. You lied. But it really, I don't think he expected it to be this difficult to bring the system to launch. And it's just not. There have been other retro consoles that have come out, but they're basically carbon copy controllers. They're just like the SNES or something, or Genesis. So this is something different. Me and Saggy have played it in person. All I could say is it's a lot of fun. I think also from your video, Yield Nerdcast, you're like, this is something I might be interested in. You weren't like hating on the
certain.
Yeah. So it's all I could say is it's a lot of fun. It's taken too long to get to market, and we do need something new. Also, with the concerns of the Kotaku article, and this is something Rhea wanted. She wanted to address past mistakes, move forward, and gain back consumer confidence. They do need to get more consumer confidence, and for the general public, a better image out there than there is right now. So they do have things to prove. And also the dates coming up in October, 10/10/2021, which was going to be the release date that kind of is pushed again. So we need I think, to gain some consumer confidence, address the concerns, address the public relations that have been kind of crazy lately. That's why there's two passionate sides, because Tommy likes to address his critics, but then they keep coming at you. You give an answer and there's 10 more. There's 10 more, and it's like a never-ending cycle.
It's a little more. See, I have to cut across you, because the reason why there's two sides, and I've talked to so many people on both, is that there are people who support and are like, I can deal with all the issues people have, and I'll just wait until it comes out. And then you have people that want the things that they find an issue with Tommy Tallarico or the Amico. They want those answers, or he said something and years later he changed it. And it's literally just the haters have an issue with how Tommy is handling this company. Whereas the people who support Tommy are like, we're fine with how he's handling it. We don't care. We're just going to sit and wait until it comes out. And then the hater side of it, or the critics or whatever, are like, well, you guys should care because it's a scam and it's bad for business. So that's the basically what we're dealing with.
Yeah, I just kind of wanted to jump in and sort of like, basically that's kind of like the TLDR for Devin and Justin, entering the community and not expecting such, their comment section just to get lit the fuck up, yes. Right after this video.
And it happens.
So,
it happens. Yeah. It's the internet, so to a certain degree you just have to be ready for that.
Well, this situation with the Intellivision Amico is a little bit more, a little different, because like when you guys say, well, it's the internet, it's like, yeah, kind of, because this is a whole new level of internet obsession, in my opinion. Like, people literally will look specifically and solely for any video YouTube content creator who is talking about Intellivision, whether it's positive or negative. They are actively looking for it. That's why they came to
obviously
every day.
We got like 6 views on several of our videos. It's like,
right.
You guys were
and like, to be
really
honest, I am
shit.
guilty of that, but I am guilty of like having a little bit like too much of a fascination with this topic, but it is something that is just really fascinating for me to
there has to be a documentary in the future. I really want a documentary in the future. It's so This is the weirdest thing. Well, and I've been a fan. I've wanted this to come out since they announced it. I've been following it since then. But this whole journey, you can't prove anything to the general consumer until you actually get it into people's hands. And that's really where we're at now. We do need new info, more concrete info, new games, because they've been showing the same games for years. They throw a little few new ones in there.
When did they first announce the Amico?
I think 2018.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, so it's been a while.
I guess. Kind of seems like the
I mean, I
world
did
has just
also
stood
want
still
to,
since 2018 in some ways.
Yeah.
You know.
I did want to like call out that Max did touch on the production process of the state of the console as well, like in his opening statement. So thank you for doing that, Max. I did want to also kind of like give other folks like Saggy, who's like a lot more knowledgeable than I am, as far as like some of the production hiccups and some context around why is it that like we haven't seen a lot of like new updates on the console itself. So Saggy, if you have any insight that you're okay sharing with us, I'd love to hear it.
So, from my understanding, there's a lot. Like, obviously, right now, their main focus is to completely like get the console and the games to where they need them to be as best for launch, right? So that's their focus. Kind of just like how when you have a game, you try to get it as good as you can. Then, like later on, if it needs some reworks, they do a patch or something, right? So their main focus is to make sure that the motion controls work for the games that utilize the motion control, that all the games that are finished, because they're for the most part, there's a big argument that the games aren't finished. The games are finished. They're just making sure, like, for example, there was a game we played, I forget what it was because this was like months ago, but there's a game we played where we were playing in single player, but then there's an option for 2-player, and the 2-player mode where somebody plays as like a spaceship was a little OP, like it was moving a little fast, and I mentioned it to Tommy. They're like, yeah, we're tweaking it, we're just playing, we're tweaking it, that's not it's the game's finished overall, but that we're little tweaks. And then on top of that, there are certain announcements that for the console, like certain games or certain things that's kind of exclusive. Like they have certain ways that they want to share that information. Like maybe if there's like a deal they have with a TV channel or something. And by the way, I'm not saying that's what they have. I'm just saying this is an example. Like, if he has an exclusive deal with a certain person or company that's like, hey, we want to show you the system and we haven't announced this yet. We want to announce it on your platform, blah, blah, blah. So there are things that they have that they're waiting on to announce certain things. So like I said, they're preparing, because everyone thinks the marketing for this console has started. The official marketing, and Tommy has said this many times, the official marketing for this console has not started yet. Right now, it's just, getting the word of mouth, saying, hey, we have a console coming out with this console. But right now, no announcements are being made because the marketing hasn't officially started yet. So they haven't spent a single penny on marketing for the console. It's all just YouTube channels, personalities trying to get people to play it with these events. Then they're going to start doing marketing.
Well, Saggy, let me just quickly ask Devin and Justin's take on some of the information that you shared. So y'all responded to, I think, like the E3 video, and then like the Kotaku article, and then some other online content on the system as well. So after hearing some more context around the current state of the company and the system now, where are y'all's thoughts? Like what open-ended questions do you have that we can possibly try and touch on during the stream?
Well, so the initial points that Max made about the production stuff is absolutely true, and that's been an issue with more than just the Amico. I mean, there are supply chain issues up and down, the entire economy, global economy even. So especially with things involving computer chips and processors and all that. So of course, all of that's going to have an effect on your ability to manufacture and ship consoles worldwide. And just the fact that, you're trying to make a brand new console in general. I mean, that's a Herculean task, no matter what the console is. Like, coming from just to give you a little bit of background, I worked in the game industry for many years.
Oh, cool.
That's how we met, actually.
Yeah, we met at a game company.
Awesome.
Yeah, so I know just how hard it is, even just to release
to do anything.
To do anything, basically. But then just to release even a small title on a pre-existing platform, that's hard enough in and of itself. So actually being able to put together a console and wrangle together developers with IP, with their own IP and all that sort of stuff, and come out, nail out contracts and agreements on all of that. That's all borderline impossible to put together for most companies,
especially these days.
Especially
and that's what we were talking about last time. It's just the barrier for entry into this specific, market is so astronomically high that it's almost insane to think anyone would try. And so, I mean, you gotta be like, they're trying. That's cool. They're trying to put something out there.
I absolutely, I and we talked about it before too. Also, like our initial reaction to this thing, first and foremost, is that it's always good to have more competition in the console market. Like it's always good to have more consoles. Like that's just even outside from.
Even if it was just like one game, and even if every game was terrible, but like one game was just super awesome, and you were like, dude. Did you only get to play that one game? Because I mean, it's like I
have a Neo Geo Pocket Color in my room.
Yeah, exactly. That's my point. That was my point.
And I love it still. I played Samurai Showdown on the other day. It's awesome.
I remember Transylvania on the Apple II Plus was just the bomb. You know what I mean? And I'm sorry, it was a great game.
We are very old, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what I was going to say.
No, y'all have a youthful, energy about y'all. But I did want to just,
my beard. And he's talking about the Apple Plus.
I'm super old. So to me, I'm just like, why do we even know all this crap? It's like, I mean, like when I was, it just seemed like products came out. I didn't know the NES was coming out until it came out. And it was like, check it out, NES. I was like, this is amazing. It's way better than the Atari 3200 or whatever my friend down the street had that was way better than the 2600. You know what I mean?
And it's just sounding, it's just sounding like that y'all have y'all come in with a lot of built-in empathy after, being in the trenches, boots on the ground in this same industry that, we're commenting on. So your perspective is definitely something that I do want to hear more about as we go into the next topic. Just wanted to kind of gently segue to
real quick,
the next point.
Before you do that, Rhea, though, I did because I wanted to address this comment. First of all, there are plenty of videos of gameplay footage on the official Intellivision Amico YouTube channel, as well as plenty of people who, like me and Max, who have played the Amico, who has gameplay footage in our videos. I've made one, Max has made one. Many of the YouTubers that went to the Crayola event specifically have videos showing the gameplay of the games that we were able to play. Also, the games themselves are not a secret. There is no secret to the games. Like I said, all of the games that have been shown thus far are publicly available on the platform, most of them on the official Intellivision Amico web YouTube channel. But also, it's not like the games. There's some things like special features with the console, as that's basically what's kind of right now, kind of hush hush special features or things that the Amico can do that not many people might, that hasn't been public yet. That's what I mean. It's not the games, it's the console and other things to come with the console.
I do think he might be talking about some of the games. There's some games that they haven't gotten a lot of updates on, like the Earthworm Jim and stuff like that, potentially. But there's reasons for that,
right? But that's what I'm saying. Like not the game, like not all the games. Like some of the games that have been announced, like Earthworm Jim, Cornhole, we haven't seen much of, and that's true. But overall, there, like I said, not all of the games are it's not a big secret.
Mm-hmm.
That's actually a perfect segue into the topic for our perspectives on the public relations for the company, which is something Max mentioned that I'm kind of, a critic on. It's not like a do or die sort of determining factor for my pre-order, because spoiler alert, I am a pre-order customer for this console. Although I do have, some of my own personal perspectives on how they've been handling marketing and a lot of the community engagement and things like that. But as far as Devin and Justin, as your familiarity with what you've seen so far from the Amico community, you want to just kind of shed some light on your experience with it in your short amount of time that you've been involved in it.
Yeah, so I will say that from my getting pulled into the universe, most of the contention circles around the Tommy Tallarico character, and
that's true.
Yeah.
And I will say, you know what? I'm not one to dish out whatever I can't take. So if you want to attack me for the comments I made on Tallarico, I'll take it. Fine, that's fine. I was responding a lot to that article because the article seemed to focus a lot, I guess, on things that Tommy Tallarico was posting on forum. I think the Atari Age forum and on Reddit. And just as a quick aside, first and foremost, being a forum person is like a recipe for disaster.
Yes, yes.
Anybody in any kind of executive position at any company should stay away from forums.
The only way to win is not to play.
Right. Yes, you're both right. I agree with you. 100%.
And I say this like
No,
go for it. Yeah.
No, I completely agree with you. That's part of his problem. Is that's who he is. That's
yeah.
Right. I mean, he's a people person though. That's the thing. He listen, a little background history. Tommy Tallarico is an Italian dude from Boston, from Massachusetts, okay? And let me tell you, I'm also from here, so let me tell you, we are about that life. So like when he's going on forums trying to like promote something and he has people kind of coming at him or something, we don't take that crap. Like straight up. And I get it as far as a business aspect, it's not a good look, sure. But at the same time, like he is a people person. He's not looking at people like, oh, you're just a number, right? Like he does not afraid to talk to a YouTuber who has 10 subscribers or 1 million subscribers. He doesn't care. He's a people person. So that's why I don't mind him being who he is, where other people might.
Yeah, he went on everyone that asked podcast, regardless of the number. He gave his time, and he stayed. Like when you're, some people you have guests if you've done YouTube for a long time. Some guests are like, okay, I'm gone after you hit live. No, he'll stay there and talk to you about stuff. And then like even when me and Saggy met him a couple months ago when we were at a friend's house, he didn't leave the house. Like John Retro Bro is in the chat. It was at his house. His wife fell asleep on the couch. Tommy Tallarico's tipping there with his socks on. Okay, we better put the Amico away. I better go. It's like real late at night. That's just
I just like the idea Tommy Tallarico is at people's houses with the Amico.
Exactly.
He's like, here, play it. He knocks on your door.
He's like a Santa Claus with the Amico.
Do you have 25 minutes? I've got this thing.
That's not a lot. That's why what he's doing now is spending less time on forums and on the internet, which he's trying to do right now, and do more of sharing with the public. And because that's where he shines. He's like, if you meet him in person, and he says, oh, try my console that I'm going to bring out. It's a great idea. That's where he's going to shine. That's where everyone enjoys him. Forum posting and stuff. He may win a battle here and there, but like, both you and you Nerdcast have said, don't play that game, especially if you're a CEO. It's hard to not do it, especially if you started your career grinding in the video game industry, creating soundtracks, and you're used to being on posts. Now that you're a CEO, you might want to reevaluate that. Yeah.
Like, and that's really the only like true.
Thanks,
Dog
what was that? Was that your dog?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
She's a frequent collaborator. Not now,
wait.
Kelly.
Did you say a husky?
No, collaborator. She likes to butt in.
Okay. Well, welcome to the show.
Collabrador.
Yeah.
Collabrador. No, but so yeah, like and I understand it from the creator's point of view because I've been in that shit too, and I've read plenty of forum posts on games that I've worked on, at those companies, and there is a moment.
What were they fucking thinking?
Oh,
idiots! It's almost like no one tested it at all. You're like, actually, I tested it for fucking hours and hours and hours.
Absolutely, it's like, why did they make this decision? Don't they understand that blah blah blah? And, like, I'm sitting here with like the lead designer, and we're like, dude, we can't comment on this. Like, we can't. I want to tell them exactly why this decision was made.
It's like that scene from Happy Gilmore where he's like, the ball's supposed to go in the hole, and he's like, yeah, I tried. I just really changed. Like every time someone makes a comment, that's the thing I think of.
I did want to say to Retro Bro, here's the thing though. Like, I understand that, but at the same time, right now he has investors. How many of them have you seen really complaining about it? And there's some of the
Yeah.
investors who are paying attention to all the stuff going on YouTube. One of them is one of somebody we know. Smash JT is an investor, and he's pretty much in it for the long run. Like, he knows he put his money in, and he's not complaining about it. He defends Tommy a lot. There are some investors who are looking at everything and seeing that, like, the problem isn't for them. The problem isn't Tommy. For others, it might be Tommy. But right now, he's not losing investors. His investors aren't rioting and making YouTube videos about how they dumped all this money into this company, and Tommy's on the forums arguing with people on forums. That's not what's happening.
Yeah,
So,
that's true, but it's true to a point, though. Like, investors don't really give a shit about anything that you do with your company that they're invested in, so long as it doesn't make, like, so long as the arrows don't start going down on their investment.
And Retro Bro, that's a fair point. But again, people who are big potential investors that you're talking about, those are the people I don't expect to be sitting here watching the YouTubers. Okay, these are people who have money that work. They're not sitting on platforms on Twitter. They don't have Twitter. You know, I can see if it's like a big company that's like that, but they're not all on these platforms. So I don't really see it as a problem, to be honest with you. And you can say I'm wrong. You can say I'm wrong, but again, Tommy still has investors. People are still investing, so I don't know how I'm wrong if people are still investing. Retro Bro.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
What's a problem? I don't. I think.
She's arguing that it's not a problem that he's posting on forums because it's not costing him investors.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah. Which, I mean, I agree with that. Like, that's true. Like, if you can get away, and if it's one thing that, like, Elon Musk has shown us, is that there's no level of buffoonery that's going to cost you investors so long as you know what you're doing. You know, so yes, that's true. But you also have to take into consideration that we do live in a time, especially in a segment like, you know, gaming, where people are constantly connected to one another online on Twitter or Reddit or you know, Atari Age or whatever kind of forum there is. And if something hits the right way, it can have like an investor impact if they see like, oh, okay, this guy has a lot of negative heat on him. We don't want to, you know, and I'm speaking from, you know, experiencing something like this in the past. Like,
yeah.
If there is a lightning rod, you know, in the vicinity of your studio, then people will be cautious about whether or not they want to associate with that. Like that, if that hasn't happened for him yet, then that's golden, you know, and he should take that as a win and try to minimize the potential of something like that happening in the future. But we do live in an environment right now where that's absolutely a I mean, we have social media managers.
Well, for instance, we're talking about the dude and not the console. I mean, you know what I'm saying? It's kind of like his personality. And you got to realize, from our point of view, I didn't know the Amico existed 2 weeks ago. You know what I mean? But it's like, it seems like to some degree, as goes Tommy Tallarico, so goes the Amico.
It's a double-edged sword. Like it's the big personality that draws all of that sort of attention and whatnot. And you definitely, like, the Intellivision Amico as a product, I would say, gains from having a boisterous personality at its figurehead position, more so than like just some boring milquetoast guy whose name you forget 2 seconds after learning it, right? Like, there is a value to that, but it is a double-edged sword. Like, it'll cut you if you don't know how to use it properly. And if you know, and like some of the stuff that Kotaku article was talking about, like, I went through it on my video. Like, I don't really give a shit if he's calling people idiots or whatnot. That's not a good look, but it doesn't really matter. He can call whoever he wants a dummy. That's no big deal. But like some of the other stuff, you know, that he has to, you know, I haven't read this Reddit article. I guess it's in response to accusations of him being like involved with, you know, the far right or whatever. Like,
is it?
What's that? Oh yeah, that's what it.
I can't. I mean,
it's his response, pretty much, to a lot of like the Kotaku article, as well as people's responses to the Kotaku.
Yeah, I mean, that's just being put in a situation where you have to respond to something like that in general is a tough row to hoe, and you know, that's
discretion is the better part of valor, and one oh shit can erase 1,000 attaboys. You know what I'm saying? So
that's a very old-timey saying. That's a very old-timey
yeah,
saying.
but nothing. It's true though. I mean, the thing is that, like, you know, it doesn't matter if you fuck up something. You know what I mean? People like that's like that one time you fucked up. Everyone remembers that. They don't remember the 400 times you didn't fuck up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's the thing. I just think it's cool, and I hope they get it together and make something come out that's cool. You know what I mean? I think the play-by-play of it seems to be reductive at some point. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, if he to Saggy's point, if he's like the kind of person that likes to go out and he's a people person, he gets involved with people, he's like showing up at people's houses with the Amico and whatnot, then there's a certain level of shit that's just going to come with that. And I think that, you know, to a degree, you just have to be ready to accept that, right?
Yeah.
But like,
it's like whack-a-mole. You can't fight all the trolls.
You can't fight all the
You know what I
trolls, and
mean?
you definitely shouldn't be trying to on internet
because
forums.
they actually love the fight.
Yeah.
You know, you can write anything you want, and they're just like dying for some attention. And when the person responds, it's like, holy shit!
Well, yes.
I hit their battleship. You know what I mean? It was like it was C4, but now it's fucking. Oh my god, I'm alive. You know, I exist. And this guy who didn't know me at all now knows I exist. And even if it's negative, it's there's no such bad thing as bad publicity. And it's like kids in school. They say a kid that craves attention, even negative attention, is attention.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So the best way to deal with that is to fucking just turn off the spigot. You know what I mean? Just turn it off.
Well, let me ask.
I was going to say a lot of stuff in the article was a lot of stuff without the whole context of he still responded, maybe not in a great way, but he was responding to people. Or there was a lot of social media influencers, a lot of YouTube influencers that liked to, and I'm not getting into the specifics, but they were real extremely critical of the machine. And he reached out to them. He's like, I will bring it to where you film your podcast, and I will do that. And they refused to because
because they've chosen a side. They've chosen a side. They don't want it to be cool.
That's where, like, I know the Ye Old Nerdcast. I forget what's each one of your names again. I'm sorry.
Oh, Devin,
Justin,
Devin. I know you said, get out of your safe space. That's where he was talking to the podcasters in their safe space where they won't even try the thing and hate on it. To give you context there. Was it the best comment? No, but you know.
No, that's just more of like on my end there, that was just more of like I guess a comedic sort of commentary on the overusage of the word safe space on both angles, both actual usage.
It's a bit lazy, you know what I mean, in that regard, yeah.
But there's a lot of context there and a lot of personal stuff in the article besides the criticism. Like they have a lot of people that have from Tommy's past. The more popular you get, there's going to be a line for. I mean, you guys seem great, but if you suddenly got a big celebrity on you, there might be a line of people too sharing some things on a bad day of you.
I'm certain.
So that's where I was like, this went across the line overly personal. So I think it would happen to each one of us. Some people in my chat right now, you want to do it. Hey, everyone, behave, everyone in the chat. But that's just,
one of the points I did want to try and get y'all's take on is in relation to this topic around like their public relations and engagement with the community. It's all kind of they're separate topics, but they do like intermingle. So I did want to kind of like find a way to unite them in a topic that maybe we can all comment on. So like in my perspective as someone who is a consumer of high-end electronics, I love like cutting edge technology, things like that. And I do have like the ability to invest in in startup companies and like stocks and things like that if I want to. But for some reason, I'm more interested in the hardware aspect of the company rather than their potential ability to generate revenue from my potential investment. So I guess like to go back to what Saggy was saying about the community engagement of the company not necessarily deterring investors. From my perspective, I want my console, whether the company goes under or not. I unfortunately I don't have any emotion or any sort of like ethos tied to the well-being of this company. I just want my product. So if I had more of like a connection to the company with more of an investment, I think I would probably want to, be more supportive of their of how they're engaging with the community, but I don't have that. I'm just, a consumer of their product at the end of the day. So I did want to kind of like get y'all's take on, folks who just want, just tell us when our hardware is coming versus like the folks who are, like to Saggy's point, in it for the long haul, have already invested and, have a reason to want to defend the company.
Nobody said anything.
It's
Oh,
it's
no,
a hard
I'm
one.
sorry.
Yeah, I've just been brewing on that all day because
Can you
like that's
repeat
kind
that?
of where
I was
I'm
a little
at.
distracted.
So there's folks like me who just want their hardware. Like I could care less about any sort of like reasons why the community engagement has been the way it is. Just tell me when my hardware is shipping. And then there's folks who actually invested thousands of dollars and they're not getting a refund. They're in it for the long haul. So so I guess like how would y'all like kind of like differentiate like the folks who have like a buy-in for wanting to to defend the company versus folks who are just like, I just want my console. Like I could care less about all these other all this other information or excuses that you want to bring up. Just give us a production update.
Across the board, everyone needs an update. Everyone, like investors, people that have pre-ordered a long time ago, people that are just pre-ordered a week ago. We need, because it's the third delay now, and the third date is coming up soon, 10/10/2021. That's why I put it in the thumbnail here. We need to know, hey, if it's not going to be there shipping shortly after 10/10/2021, is it being produced in a factory somewhere? We need like a firm update. We kind of need some new info besides just the regular stuff. And that is where I will be. I love Tommy, but I will be critical if by the end of the year we don't get a firm update that it's being
But that's
made.
a problem, Max. How many times has Tommy tried to update people or tell people no? People who are critical don't care. How many times has Tommy literally gone to subreddit pages that are dedicated on dunking on him and the Amico, and he's gone into there and tried to answer questions and just got attacked? So it's like he's damned if he does and damned if he don't. That's why basically what I say is like, no matter what Tommy does, it's wrong to a lot of people. And to those people, they're going to make their videos, feed their stuff to articles like Kotaku and other articles. It's just a cluster. It's just a dumpster fire. So what is Tommy supposed to do? When he shuts up, people demand him to answer questions. When he answers questions, he's a liar. So he can't win no matter what he does. And that's the big problem with this Amico controversy. It's like Tommy can't do anything to please anyone. He either shuts up and puts out the console, or people who are asking questions about, like what Rhea said, gets those answers. But then what? Then he's a liar. That's not true, because why is it this now? And you said this back in the day. Well, things have changed. Oh, it doesn't matter. You should stick with that. It doesn't matter what Tommy does at this point. All I can say for people who are genuinely interested and are new, wait till it comes out.
Well, let me try and kind of parse out my rambling into like a coherent statement. I typed it out in the chat. So basically, like buyers and investors both have different ways that you want to communicate to them. I'm a buyer. I just want my hardware. I could care less about your life story. Investors, they may want they may want to hear like the there are a few investor videos where like Tommy just goes on this like long, 600 years of experience, diatribe of, like how qualified him and his team are. But, and that's something that you want to sell to investors to get them confident for them to give you your money. But I'm sold on the hardware. I'm sold on, the features and, the aesthetic of the console and the collectability. So those are my top 3 reasons for being a buyer. As an investor, I'm not quite sold, because all I have are the ethos arguments that you're attempting to sell to me. So like, I guess to pivot to like Yield Nerdcast crew, what are y'all's thoughts on, how like the company's been managing, how they're selling to their consumers versus how they're selling to investors?
Well, I mean, I would say that it's not so much and granted, it's weird talking about this because you guys, I can tell how passionate you are and how knowledgeable you are. You guys have been in this for a while, and I just kind of feel like, you know what I mean. Not even that I read the Cliff Notes, but that literally I got hit by the Cliff Notes as a kid walked by me who had the Cliff Notes, you know. But it seems like so much. It's not so much that he's nothing he can do to please anyone. It's that there's nothing he can do to please everyone, and I think that he's not going to please everyone. You know what I mean? And that's fine because not everyone in the world has to buy the console. How do people have to like it? I mean, most people. There's a good everything that's popular or out that exists. There's like half a good section of people that hate it. You know what I mean? It's amazing how binary things actually are. I mean,
I was thinking that exact thing earlier. Like, everything distills down to a binary for whatever reason.
Which is weird too, because it makes you wonder about the nature of reality. That, you know, it's like, you know, it's a true false. Where I mean, so much is binary: 2 hands, 2 eyes, 1 0. Anyway, but that's a whole other conversation. But you know, it's like no matter what it is, you come out with something great. And there are forums right now where people are bashing the Beatles, wailing on the Beatles, you know, or just anything else that people just generally think is great. No matter how great it is, someone's going to dislike it.
There is a problem with trying to speak to those two audiences. Like the way that you talk to investors is entirely different from the way that you talk to consumers. And I hail from the old Blizzard / BioWare school of it's out when it's done. Like we'll release it when it's ready. Like no firm release dates. You give people updates for certain, but you give them updates without committing to any kind of release date. That's pretty much the only way to go from my point of view, because unless you've got a ship that is just sailing as smooth as humanly possible and there are no problems at all, there's always going to be something that's going to knock that date back to some degree, even if it's just a week or so. And people will find a way to get pissed off about that. So, like, you have to understand, like, yeah, you can talk to your investors in more concrete terms, and maybe you're going to have milestones that are tied to dates just by a function of, you know, trying to get people to part with their money. You know, like they're not gonna want to invest in your development if they can't have certain commitments tied to certain dates.
You're like, slow down.
Yeah.
All those metrics are cramping my style. I just like you write me a check, please.
Yeah, that, you know.
Wait, so like just
that
to like kind
that
of
doesn't work.
So like so what you're describing is like a typical investor, someone who doesn't like dwell so much on the numbers. They want to be sold a narrative. Is that what you're saying, or did I misunderstand?
No, it's kind of, well, like a typical investor. They do have an interest in the numbers. They get sold, like the narrative sells them. The narrative is what convinces them that this is something that they want to put their money behind. But then once they put their money behind it, they want those numbers. They want to see those dates. They want to see those targets. They want to see those updates with concrete evidence that progress is moving in the right direction. And
we called it inlines. There were inline dates. When I was working on Cyber Complex, we had inline dates. And so you had to make a certain amount of assets to a certain point. Yeah. And basically the publisher would look at the game at these different inline dates. And if it made sense, you would get another, you keep going. If it didn't make sense, basically. Yeah, if it didn't make sense, then everyone in the studio needed to get their resume together because you were off, that project was going to go away. So, I mean, and that's like in typical game development. I have a question for you all. Is this console pre-sold? Is it like a Kickstarter? Have they taken, have you guys like given them money at this point?
I pre-ordered at GameStop, and they have done crowdfunding campaigns like on Fig, Fundable, other sites for investors as well. Like specifically investors, not like Kickstarter. Not like Kickstarter where you're basically pre-ordering something. There are other like crowdfunding sites where you legitimately buy equity in the company.
Oh.
So they're basically, when you guys talk about investors, you're actually talking about essentially fans or enthusiasts that have given the company some of their money because they want to see the console and they want it. That's an aspect. We're not talking about like VCs and guys in suits that maybe heard of a video game at one point, but it's kind of like
for those, so my knowledge as far as like folks that have like given money to the company, there's folks that like me who have pre-ordered at a retail store, and then there are folks who have like crowdfunded through Fundable who bought equity in the company. They're not necessarily people in suits. They're folks like who are maybe like upper middle class, like who can afford to throw like $1,000 or $5,000 into a startup.
Well, sure, that's a very different scenario than who would typically invest in a piece of hardware or technology hardware. You know what I mean? And their motivations are completely different. What they're looking for and what they're hoping to get out of it is completely different. It's probably not so much about the money as it is being part of something that, you know, I mean, the thing is I'm actually old enough to remember when Intellivision was around. You know what I mean? It was the predecessor to ColecoVision, but a friend of mine had a ColecoVision, and that my favorite part of Ready Player One was at the very, very end where he's playing the ColecoVision. That was the best part of that movie, but I was just stoked to see him playing ColecoVision because I played it, you know. So some of these old brands, certain people they have a certain affinity for those old brands, and it's cool that they're bringing them back in a way that, you know, is not just a kind of a weird soulless cash grab, which I'm not willing to say that about the Atari BCS, but it seems like the Atari BCS didn't do anything. It didn't bring anything to the table, but that's a whole different conversation, I guess.
I will say though that noting that there are independent investors that are just kind of like fans that went to the funding site and tossed in $1,000 or $5,000 or whatever. That does make me feel a little bit differently about the whole situation with updates, because I talked about this. I posted a video on my channel about a Kickstarter game called Liege that I backed a long time ago. The guy put out a demo. It was really awesome, but then all of a sudden, like, updates just stopped, and he's still like commenting on people who are out. And this was like, I think it was funded in 2013, and the last update was in 2016. And people just right now are still commenting, "Hey, any updates for the game?" And I'm like, dude, like, he's not working on this game anymore. Like, there's no possible way. And I've tried prodding him, trying to get him to give a more thorough update, and he just hasn't been doing it. So I got a refund, and I'll give him credit for that. He gave me the refund back, but I did feel a certain way about like Kickstarters or any other kind of crowdfunding that takes money from people who aren't traditionally investors, and then not giving those people adequate updates. I don't think that's right. I don't think that's a good way to run your operation.
It seems like the updates though could be just like positive updates on what's going on, general updates on, hey, even if they didn't do anything, but I mean, they're doing something. It's like, hey, we got this and that, you know, or parcel it out, kind of like, you know, instead of being on forums trying to duke it out with people that are talking trash. Because the thing is you're going to be duking out for eternity. You know what I mean? And I think that generally people, you know, that's like, you know, they want to keep it positive and just hear about the cool things that you're cooking up, you know, because they're buying into the idea of it. You know, that's what the thing. It's like, this is going to be cool. You know,
and I did want to just, you know, add that I'm in no way an expert on this topic. I just find it fascinating. I'm learning about it more and more every day. And so what I said previously about like my own understanding of who investors are, that wasn't like a holistic representation of everyone who may be an investor. That's just, you know, kind of like an overview of like, you know, folks who I've seen invest in the company so far on public forums, like crowdfunding sites.
Well, Degrassi, I've always considered crowdfunding to be a racket, too many scams. That's fine. That you can, as far as of today, if you go through even where Intellivision had its past sites, you could do $100 refundable deposit you can ask for any time, and I do know that people have got their $100 back. So whether you consider that crowdfunding or not, it's a deposit that you can ask for the refund at any time. So that should be considered different than 100% upfront Kickstarter or Indiegogo.
We were just curious. I was just curious as to if that was an element here, if there was any kind of, you know what I mean? Because some of the things that you guys had said led me to believe that maybe you had either pre-ordered or already paid, or that was an aspect of it, that, you know?
Yeah, no, like for me, I just recently pre-ordered. So like I'm almost as brand new to the subject matter as y'all. So apologies if I get any information wrong or anything like that. That's totally on me.
You're about
but
1,000 times more knowledgeable
Yeah,
than,
exactly.
than we are, so no apologies necessary.
But yeah, like Max, and you can correct me as well. Like for retail folks like myself, who just pre-ordered after the first round of Founders Edition pre-orders that had exclusive skins for the console, like wood grain and for example. So those are exclusive for folks that were in the first round of like pre-orders for the company.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those have to be directly in Intellivision, the wood grain, and then the one that you got is retail to GameStop only, the Galaxy Purple. And I don't know how the refund on that is. I don't know.
But yeah, like just
Probably.
to kind of like give like my own sort of like perspective on like crowdfunding hardware and things like that. I'm a big advocate for crowdfunding. Not only like products, but also creators of content that I actively enjoy. Like, it's something that there is sort of like this boomer-esque argument of like bootstraps, like, fund your own dreams and things like that. But I'm of the opinion that if someone is creating creating content or producing an idea that's worthwhile to me, I want to see it come to life and I want to be a part of it. If not just like secure a final product when it's complete. So yeah, like I'm a lot more forgiving when it comes to companies using crowdfunding as a way to secure the ability to produce their ideas or to continue producing content like on Twitch and YouTube and things like that. So I never really understood why people are hesitant about or find it sketchy that a company relies on crowdfunding to any extent.
I think crowdfunding is great. I think the reason I was asking is that the expectations are a lot different. I'm of the mindset where if you're not crowdfunding and you're just developing something, don't even let anybody know until it's like until it's the bomb. It's like literally this shit is going to blow the world away. It's rock solid. Now we start marketing. You know what I mean? Because you can look at Cyberpunk 77. You could look at, it's America, but we live in where we're marketing. It's all about kind of faking it until you make it. It's this idea of marketing is everything. You know what I mean? And so much is spent on marketing, so much focus is on marketing that a lot of times the product can't deliver. You know what I mean? Or the product is, how many games come out that are damn near broken when they come out? It's like, we'll patch it. It's cool. We just got to get it out. You know what I mean? Because we've promised so much. When it comes to that, but when it comes to crowdfunding, I can see that it's a whole different expectation with respect to what's going on. You got to let the people know, the crowd that funded you, where you're at. You know what I mean? Because they're entitled to that because So it's like I think I would advocate as a company that's just developing any kind of new thing, Don't oversell and underdeliver, you know what I mean? And keep as much of what's going on behind closed doors, because really there's no one that needs to know that. That stuff is on a need to know basis, But if you're crowdfunding, there's a lot of people that need to know, you know what I mean? The crowd.
Yeah, there is like a lot more people that you have to that would potentially be expecting a response to, the latest production updates and things like that.
Well, this is a good comment because this is where people get upset with him because it is a little different. But when he says they're not crowdfunding, they're not really. They use sites that do that, but you can ask for it at any time. And as far as I know, they can't touch those funds either because it's set aside.
You're
and
in
anyone
escrow.
can ask for in escrow. So they're not like taking your money in. And that's also why they have to be so careful. Something that people don't consider is when the big three brings a console and they have existing revenue, and television's kind of coming back. The only revenue they have existing is like with those like minis, like the Intellivision Mini years ago. So they don't have a lot of existing revenue besides bringing this. So they have no opportunity to fail. They fail, they're bankrupt. And if they do have investors, they have to get it right for the right price where it's going to be mutually beneficial for everyone. So they have a window, but I also do think they need an update because people have been waiting for so long. I'm even tired of talking about the same games, even though I like them. I want to play them. We need something new. We need definitive stuff. Okay, it's not going to be out by the end of the year, but at least we started production or something like that. And I think if you can't even get production started by the end of the year, people are going to start to lose interest even more. You're going to get, I really believe that. I hope that does not happen.
Yeah, no, that's I'm sorry if we lost
Production is a
Aggie.
tough road to
Maybe she's
hoe.
busy.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, and it's like they can't lose money on their consoles. That's the thing. It's like, how long does it take? How long did Sony lose money on PlayStation before they actually, like, when they come out, they're losing money for every single console.
That's the
sold.
industry. They lose money on console, make money on other places.
Yeah, and I feel like that's really that's a tightrope to walk. That's kind of psychotic for a new company that doesn't have existing revenue. Is that like every hardware manufacturer sells at a loss because they make their money back with royalties on their software sales and peripheral sales and other kind of licensing deals.
Or the life cycle of the console eventually.
Or the life cycle of the console eventually. But like and that's one of the things where I read in that article, that Kotaku article about the 50% royalties from software sales, which, and I remember way back in the day when I was working, I forget where I was working at, but I think we were putting out a title for the PlayStation 2, and we were talking about possibly putting it on the GameCube, but our executive, the C-suite, did not want to do any dealing with Nintendo because Nintendo had the audacity to charge 30% royalties on their software sales, which was the highest that any console manufacturer charged at that time. I don't know if that's still the case or not right now, but at that time it was. And that was a big point of contention with a lot of developers for at least the GameCube, 30% markup rate. And like 50% is pretty intense. I don't know if that's still the numbers they're communicating or sticking with, but for games that are designed to be cheap, a 50% cut in your profit margin is I mean, that's a tough sell for.
Are they exclusive though? Maybe you guys can answer this. So they take 50% on their console, but the hardware is such that theoretically a game you develop for the Amico, unless it was really based on the controller, could actually come out on Steam or also out on Android.
It has to be a unique version for the Amico. Something has to be unique.
But could it be the same game, but they just make some kind of tweak in the controlling function to use the controller? I mean, my point is that like, so if the idea is that you're just opening up that extra market, like you've already developed the game, it's live on Steam, you got it on Android, maybe it's an iOS, you know what I mean? You can add the Amico, and they just, with making a few little changes to it, maybe you add an UI function that on the controller, but you basically, the game's already done. You just add that functionality and they take 50% of that, but it's not your only revenue stream. If they demanded exclusivity to the console, like you were basically only allowed to develop, we'll put out your game, but it has to be with us for a year or 2 years before you can essentially put it in the Steam store or whatever, and we want 50%. I can see that being, I mean, as it is.
Well, as far, I don't know all the specifics, but 50% is, there's a lot of variables. Like, I don't know if I'm under the assumption, and I don't know this for sure, like if it's an Intellivision property that they're working on, then maybe that would be the way they get 50% of the revenue. But if it's a different game that's not an Intellivision owned IP and they bring it, I don't know if they have to have it exclusive first, but I do know other games like Bridge Force Redux is a shmup. That's available now. Where they made it different is now there's multiplayer. It's just that was the small change. It's called Rigid Force Redux Special or something. It's just a small change to the name, multiplayer now. So I bet games that are newly developed and are Amico first, I think it's a case by case basis. I don't know all the.
Okay.
You would think they would get a break. You would think they would get a break for developing solely for the Amico.
I would hope so.
Like maybe 25% or 20% if you develop an Amico exclusive.
Well, yeah, I do really care for developers too, and I want them to get a fair price too. I don't want it to be, I want it to be mutually beneficial. I don't know all the specifics of there. He kind of didn't really give. He's kind of addressed this before, but I don't really totally understand either. I really wouldn't understand unless I was a developer. I'm under the assumption that the 50% is for like if you're a developer and then you want to do an Intellivision. That's what I think. I'm 100% on that. If it's an
Okay.
Intellivision owned property, you want to do a reimagined, then they're going to want 50 because it's their property.
It's their IP, yeah.
Oh,
Right.
okay. So like, yeah, if you want
but
to
I don't know
basically
that for
remake
sure.
an Intellivision game.
Yeah, that's
Sure.
what I'm guessing. It could just be 50% across the board, but I don't think that's true.
Well,
I
that would be
have-
stifling. Water finds the lowest point. If the developers, third-party developers, can't make a decent, enough of a profit to develop for the console, then that's going to be a barrier for entry for them. So
right. And then there's also like other consoles. Once you get the console, there's not a lot of. They might have accessories out, but there's not really anything else you have to buy. Like you could use phones for additional controllers, and then the games are $10. So that's another reason that they really need to make sure they're launching the right way, because there's no margins for extra income once they launch. That's it. Like if they don't get the launch right, everything else is going to fail.
Yeah.
Because if they don't get profit there, they're done. That's why it's high.
Seems so hard.
No, the way Tommy did this, he believes in it. Other people believe in it too. But really, the stakes are extremely high on this launch. If you don't get it right at the launch, then the other stuff's not going to follow through. You have to make it profitable at launch first, because there's no room to make them up the money later, because the margins are tight with the digital games. $10, set $8.
I actually did want to chime in about my own personal take about what feedback I've heard from different sides around, like, oh, why not just sell like a version of the console without the controllers, since the controllers seem to be a big cost blocker for a lot of folks. But from what for at least like the biggest selling point for me, like it probably is going to be the controllers. And if there is a version of the console without the controllers that allows me to use my phone, yeah, that's like, a good value for other folks who, or lower barrier of entry for other folks. But if I can kind of like, concede to this point with the company's statement around like they're selling an experience, they're selling a curated experience, and a lot of these games, albeit reimagined versions of games that exist on other platforms, they exist within this world within the Amico with a very specific style of controller and play experience and aesthetic. And they're all like curated according to this specific type of manner of play that this controller revolves around. So that's like another really big thing that I think is, although it's costing them a lot of time and resources and potentially lowering the amount of profit that developers and the company and investors are able to get from the sale of it ultimately, I think in the long run it will be worthwhile, because it is something that is undeniably unique to the console itself. But as far as like the value proposition, that's still up for debate. I don't want to argue that either way. I'm just saying that I can acknowledge that although like the challenges that they've had with securing parts and in a cost effective manner to get the product out to their buyers, in the long run I'm okay with waiting, no matter if it's like 1 year, 2 year, whatever, even if it's like for some of their pilot or their flagship games that they sold us on when the console was first released a few years ago, or announced a few years ago. I'm willing to wait, because I know that there is like they're selling something that doesn't exist currently, as far as like this fully formatted type of gameplay experience that is on the market currently. And that is my shilling for the Amico for the evening, to kind of redeem myself.
I do want to highlight these two comments, because these two YouTubers know a lot more than I do. Smash JT is also an investor too.
Yeah, I saw that.
Tommy has already responded to that 50% is incorrect, as many points in the Kotaku article. And then Rab does a great comment here. It isn't 50% across the board. The terms are negotiable, and Intellivision is putting up the marketing, the costs up front, the dev kit, the music. They can do art directions. It's a ton of variables. And I do know that cool. Tommy Tallarico himself has worked on a lot of the sound design for a lot of these games. Like you get that experience. I mean, I don't know if we want to share what we were saying before, but you guys have some knowledge of this too. He's putting a lot into that, his experience in the video game industry and potentially doing the soundtrack for your game, that Tommy Tallarico mark, that stamp. So I can understand the 50% there if he's working hands-on with these smaller developers.
Yeah, like a lot of that makes a lot more sense. Like if there are variables, like 50%, that's a sticker shock, kind of like a holy shit, that's a huge percentage.
But with the context of that, yeah.
If it comes with like a lot of other added benefits that helps, is particularly small developers, indie developers, and if you're like a 2 or 3 man team, then having a lot of those extra resources coming from Intellivision could make a huge difference. Probably make up the 50%, the difference between 50 and 30% or whatever the other more standard royalty deals are.
It seems like, where did that number even come from? I mean, it was in the KOTAKU article, right? I mean, and that, did they just pull that out of their ass, or did
that was from a leak? And then he was trying. This is the other reason he gets frustrated. He was trying to correct the info that it's not in every single situation, but people run with the 50% without getting context. That's why he gets frustrated. Yeah,
there was something about their dev portal or something, their dev leaks happening there, and I guess that was a part of that.
Yeah, he had a bad moment there where he, I think he should have, if he felt like legal action was necessary, do it behind the scenes. Don't say it publicly. Do not ever say on Twitter.
Yeah, well, you can't actually. I was told by a lawyer one time that you can never actually tell someone you're going to sue them publicly. You just serve them. You're like, I'm going to sue you, and then you sue them. It's like, if you're going to sue somebody, just sue them.
Right. Don't do not announce it on Twitter. No.
Yeah, no. I was just checking down our list to make sure that we covered everything we wanted to talk about, and we even covered some more like additional stuff that I wanted to touch on too, like some of the like hardware challenges and like some of the communication stuff between like investors versus buyers. So I just wanted to kind of open panel a little bit just to like make sure anyone who had any like open questions or topics got a chance to bring them up before we wrap up the stream.
Well, I did want to cover the Tommy's response to recent events from the Kotaku and how much people have been talking about him online. And there does need to be, regardless if you think it's wrong or right, there does need to be a change of direction in the perception of Amico and Intellivision and Tommy Tallarico online. I do think there needs to gain more consumer confidence back. And then if he feels like direct, also if he should have done this on Reddit, before we get your opinions on that, I think this is a perfect place because the amount of memes and stuff that happen when he's on video saying things, they're gonna make it another joke. They're gonna make another joke. I just know it's gonna happen. So it was Reddit the perfect place? Should have been official television? I think not really, because this is more of a Tommy thing. Again, a lot of issues come down to directly with the personality. I personally like Tommy, so I have no issues there. But I think him, and not official television statement, but still addressing all the concerns, do it where it's in writing, and then don't keep commenting on it. Move on. I think I personally was happy with it, but I would love to get Rhea and the guys at you old Nerdcast what you think of his response to all this chaos that happened since the Kotaku article. So I could.
Well, I did give the link to Devin and Justin, but I know y'all may be looking at the link with like fresh eyes. So if you have any quick thoughts you want to get to, then I'll get into mine.
Okay.
Oh, this is a lengthy.
It's too long.
This is a lengthy.
That's my
lengthy response, dude.
Right.
Like, this is.
I mean,
at a certain point though, like if you feel the need to like, you have to respond to something with like this many paragraphs, you may as well just be like, your response is just as well as being like, I don't know what to tell you guys. Sorry, whatever. It's whatever. This is who I am. Like that communicates as much as what I'm probably gonna get out of.
Okay.
I mean, it kind of seems like the battle lines are kind of drawn at this point. Like, I don't think anyone who read that Kotaku article, maybe I could be wrong about that, but
dude, he's talking about Columbus Day as a holiday. Like,
I don't
Well,
think.
you don't
I
know
don't
how
think
much
anyone
criticism he likes to address every criticism. Like you
Yeah.
guys,
I think that's a
beginning.
problem.
Okay.
I think that's a problem. I'm sorry, but there's personal opinion here.
No,
I think that's a
I don't
problem.
censor opinions. No, go ahead, go right ahead.
I agree with Devin. I think that he needs to, at a certain point, if he's the CEO of the company, he needs to unplug his persona from the company. Because the thing is all this discussion, all this stuff is about him. Stuff he said on Twitter years ago, people he followed on Twitter. And very little to do. I mean, it has to do with it, but a lot of it's about him. The idea is that as the company rises and falls on his personal integrity or his various things he said to people on Twitter. I just don't think that's a good place for any company to be in. I mean, I think I think to some degree that's both Tesla's weakness and its strength. In the same way is that, Elon Musk can get stoned on a podcast and tank their stock price for 3 or 4 weeks, And
I want to also acknowledge, like, I get it. Like, Tom Tallarico's a dude. He's a person. He's a human being, and he feels compelled to defend his beliefs.
People wanted him to respond, though. There was a lot of outcry for him to respond. So I know it's a lengthy one, but people did want something. They wanted something. So he addresses everything in one, and then if he keeps commenting on him, like, Tommy, don't. I think that should be it, and that's done.
Like, if he feels like he voiced everything he wanted to voice with this, then that's perfectly fine.
But don't keep continuing.
It should probably be the last of it.
Right. I mean, it's like when you get an email from somebody that's like really shitty. Someone's really pissed off at you. You know what I mean? And your first response is like, motherfucker. And you get in there and you start responding to every single line. Or if you do that thing where you actually go in under their lines and respond to the line, or even change your font color so it'll be obvious that you're responding line by line. But then you get to the end and you're like, you know what? No, man, fuck this shit. And then just respond with like, hey, I'm sorry that you feel that way. You know what I'm saying? End of story.
The most passive aggressive response in the world.
Well, it's like, hey, man, the thing is that like it depends on the circumstances, but I mean the Kotaku article was very much like an attacking article. Like what a fucking joke.
For certain.
You know what I mean?
There was a lot of personal feelings there because I believe like a lot of hearsay there too. I think people that have worked with them in the industry that used to work in old video game magazines. So there's stuff there along with the podcasters that don't want to actually, they still haven't tried it. They've had opportunities to try it. So there's been that backup. He's been very frustrated that they just want to not hate, but criticize it aggressive criticism, where their angle into the retro is they really cover things that fail a lot. So they benefit a lot. They don't really, they like to come up with, my opinion is they like to come up with, the criticism, but the way they responded, to be fair to them, was we want to criticize it based on what the public gets. We don't want any inside knowledge. That's the angle they went. But so his frustration was there, and they used in that article. It seems like they kind of know each other, and they know from these podcasters what.
Well, he's a known commodity. Yeah. I mean, when I was at GDC in 2008, he was there, and he gave he was around, and But I would say that like so when we did that campaign for Splatoon, there was a ton of online hate about that stuff. Mm-hmm. And the funny thing is that at first, when I read, there are people that made whole videos about how much they hated those commercials and how much they hated that song. I mean, like with production and stuff, you know what I mean? And my first response was when I first looked at it, because the producer from the agency was like, "Oh, geez, here come the YouTube comments," And so, we were looking at him, and I was like, "Well, come on, the guy hated. Oh man, but then I was like, you know what? Who gives a shit?" You know what I'm saying? It's like the thing is, what these people don't realize that are making the videos and all the comments and all this shit is they're just doing the job of the ad company. That was a new IP, even though it was negative. There's no such thing as negative publicity. Yeah. They were putting that song and that commercial out. They were redoing it, talking about the product, talking about it in forums. On and on and on and on and on. And that was free. You can't buy that kind of publicity. You know what I mean? The thing is it made an impression. The worst thing that could have happened is you could make a commercial or put something out and no one
Nobody
says
pays
anything.
attention to it.
You know what I mean? So the thing is that like if people had gotten on there and responded, blah, 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 that would have opened up a whole other thing. As it was, when they went back, there was a remix album that was made, you know what I mean, of all the songs on the Splatoon game. Some DJs did a remix of the initial game.
Yeah.
And the first song on that album was that Squid Kid song from the commercial. They took it and they remixed it. So the thing is sometimes you just got to let shit go. You got to see the bigger picture. And the fact is, if people are talking about it, it's probably a good thing. You know what I mean? There's no such thing as bad publicity. Blow them away with the fucking games.
Yeah.
Spend less time worrying about what people say in the forums and get in the fucking thing and make sure the guys are kicking out the jams and get the console on the way.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Devin. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, like, to that point, like, if there was any one thing I would say that, you know, would probably benefit Tommy Tallarico in this particular respect is to focus on the people that love your shit, man. Like, there are a lot of people that are super amped about this thing, and, you know, yeah, they want updates, and I get the frustration there. But
just so you know, what happens is most of the, I'm not saying every situation, but most people, social media influencers that are positive about it, get labeled as shills or cultists.
Oh yeah,
because they can't believe that people are actually excited about the games they see. There's no way. Like our good friend DJC, he said my jaw was on the floor when I saw Finnegan Fox. Now he's just being fun and playful, but he got a lot of criticism from that, and they act like we're lying to our viewers just to get propped up knowing Tommy. But I am genuinely excited about some of these games. I'm not excited about Sesame Street Care Bears, but Breakout coming back, Astro Smash.
Look, I'm a
Patrol,
fan of shmups, and a lot of those shoot 'em games looks cool. Like I was surprised by that. I was like, oh shit! Like I didn't think people still made shoot 'em up games anymore. Like,
right? I
that's
said
cool.
I said, but that's something that you don't necessarily that you guys don't know that because you're new to covering it. I hope you keep covering this. I really do, because I love your guys' perspective. But this is what a lot of us content creators have been experiencing, making positive, because the people that really dislike his personality, even beyond like the games, are pretty simplistic looking. They're not pushing anything. They go to every single video and try to convince you that it's garbage. And it's very frustrating for content creators. Yeah.
Here's what I would say. I would say to Tommy, if he were here, but he probably knows more about it than me, honestly. But anybody else that is positive about this console, I personally don't have a dog in the hunt, really. I mean, or in the race, I guess. I was mixing my metaphors, but I don't really care so much either way personally. But I would say I think more consoles are cool. And I said in the previous video, I like the idea. Like there was an Onion article that I loved, and it's like Zenith Zenith makes getting back into the console market with their new console title, and it was actually like the TV maker Zenith. It had the same like logo, and they had their two titles. One was called Longbow, and the other was called something else. But I remember looking at it, and I was like, I knew it was a joke, and it was funny, and I loved it. But at the same time, I was like, I kind of want to play Longbow. You know what I mean? I want to kind of see what's in it. It's just something different. But I would say that most of the people that will make this console a success or failure, I would say 96% of them have no fucking clue who Tommy Tallarico is. For him, for that console to be successful, a bunch of like kids and adults they're going to have to think it's cool and buy it, and none of this shit matters. The only thing that will matter is A, if he puts it out, B, if it works when he puts it out, and C, if his games are good. If he can do those three things and get some publicity about it, you know what I mean? It'll be successful. If he fails on any one of those three things, it's probably going to not be successful. And it won't matter what anyone on YouTube said, one way or the other. You know what I mean? They won't be able to kill that in the cradle if he doesn't, if he puts it out.
That's his main, and I can't wait to hear what Reyes says about this Reddit. I'm so curious. But that's his main. That I do want to say that's his main thing that he says. The main consumer don't even know we exist yet. The people that we're battling out online are just,
and that's true,
are just the hardcore, and then have a specific angle or whatever or bias. I have bias too. I want it to succeed, So yeah, that he always says that our biggest market doesn't know we exist yet.
I mean, like, to kind of like give my own sort of like criticism, and I do want to also preface again, like, you know, I'm new to this this discussion, and a lot of what I say may not be 100% accurate, but it's just my perception of, you know, the events that have, you know, taken place and my response to the article. So I guess like just to kind of pivot to what you were mentioning, Max, about like their claim that, you know, a large percentage of their market doesn't actually even know that they exist yet, let alone will be following any sort of like internet drama around the community engagement and things like that. I don't think that that is a fair criticism, or I don't think that's fair to sort of like. I think that's sort of like that's.
Yeah.
I feel like that's like avoiding the open criticism that the consoles currently has, and a lot of the folks who are interested in it, like the retro gaming YouTubers who are like super passionate about not marketing it, but like just talking about the news around it and the games and things like that. A lot of them I'm a big fan of, and I don't think that it's fair to say that their efforts to, you know, get the word out and promote the console from their own excitement are any less valid than the quote unquote target market, whoever that may be, whether it be like, you know, young families or, you know, older folks, or just like, you know, non gamers, things like that.
I agree with you. I don't want to dismiss anybody, but I get you, Rhea. I think the biggest target market hasn't been there yet, but everyone's important. Everyone's important for it to be a success, and you can't dismiss anything, right?
Yeah, and then just to kind of like pivot back to the Reddit response to the article and all the, you know, criticism around that around the Kotaku article. Yeah, like for me, I pretty much like, you know, I'm pretty much on the same like wavelength as Ye Olde Nerdcast crew. Like I'm just like, okay, that's great. Like where's the console? Where are the games? Can I pre-order more games? Like like I'm actually I'm anticipating the opportunity to give this company more money, but they're not giving me that opportunity. I'm like, look, I want to buy more stuff from you, but you're not telling me like anything around like how I can do that or when I can do that. So it's kind of frustrating for me because I'm like, oh, I want y'all to do well, like, because I'm like, I the passion and enthusiasm that a lot of the supporters have, like I've like absorbed, and I've like also bought into that narrative around like, you know, this console's place in the gaming hemisphere, and I'm also a gaming collector, so this aligns to my values already. But being like being confronted with a lot of the online discourse of like the company's like quote unquote non-marketing or just like, you know, community engagement, it's frustrating because they're talking about things that are unrelated to the reason why I'm even interested in their company to begin with, which is the hardware and the games. So whenever I bring up, you know, like, oh, I'm interested in the console because it's aesthetically pleasing, I like the controllers, they're going to offer me a great, unique gameplay experience, yada, yada, yada. People are like, oh, well, you know, the company said this, or like, you know, they did this. And you're like, oh, we haven't even seen like, you know, gameplay. And I'm like, that's fair. Yeah, I can see to that. Like, because there's really like I'm sold on the narrative, like me personally, of like why this console has the right to exist. But a lot of folks on the critical side or the detractor side, they have a lot of valid points too, as far as like why we should actually err on the side of caution, because we don't actually have any tangible idea of like how the system works or how the games play. I know Max and Saggy and other folks in the audience have gotten an experience to play it before, but a lot of us haven't. So we are going to need a little bit more like context around like what exactly is the experience that they're selling to us. And I didn't get any of that from the article. I just, like it was a lot of arguments that I felt like were rationales for like past social media etiquette faux pas that I would have probably been better just, having some sort of like ending statement saying from now on all marketing and community engagement is coming from Intellivision, which we were actually led to believe from a previous interview with a representative of the company that any like future interactions with the community would come from Intellivision and not individual Intellivision employees, which is not the case that we've seen up till now. And that was something that was disappointing to me, to like have that expectation broken. So when it comes to like having past mistakes acknowledged and rationales given for them, quote unquote excuses, I'm like, okay, you've already shown me, like even as like a new person who's only like maybe a couple months tenured into like their fandom of this console, that you know that you're great on selling me a narrative around like, oh, I'll never do this again, or like, oh, like we have like great stuff in the pipeline, things like that, but it's all just, you know, sort of hollow. And it's not making me question whether or not I still want the product, but it's making it exhausting when I'm like trying to, you know, hold on to as much enthusiasm as I can while still being open to hearing what, you know, critics' concerns are and things like that. Because I like every day, like a critic's, you know, perspective is like weighing heavier and heavier on me, because as much as I want to acknowledge that they're right, and I still want to, you know, like maintain hope for the future of the company and the console, it becomes like a very, like I said, exhausting sort of like mental battle to like maintain that enthusiasm while also being rationally open to other folks' criticism on it.
Well, I'm under me personally, I want Tommy to be a centerpiece of this, but I also want him to chill until there's something to talk about, like until we get definitive stuff. So I want him to reemerge. I keep saying the Tommy Tallarico with a console where people could actually buy it is a very different Tommy Tallarico than, oh, we have to delay it again or all this other stuff and not the concrete stuff. I think he should keep as silent as he can until there's more concrete stuff or we're in production. I want him to say, I would love for like to get like a photo of Amico's being made in a factory somewhere in the world or something like that. We're finally, you know, then I want him to reemerge, and then that's a different story. But but you, Ray, you were saying like Nick, the CFO. I didn't hear that it was only going to be a television. I think he is Tommy. It does have that personality that can sell the product to when there's a product that's available. When we're just talking about potential and there's no concrete future and we're still like, we still didn't make it into we're not actually, the factory's not producing it yet. Then I think he should chill out, stay off the internet and work on other things.
I completely agree with you on that. And I think that's kind of the problem is like absent an actual console on the market, the product that they have is, you know, Tommy Tallarico. Like all of his forum posts or internet posts or whatever, that's ostensibly the Intellivision product right now. And, you know, the more that he gets entangled in these weird little, you know, dust ups, you know, the more that becomes a part of the brand. And, you know, nobody wants that to be the brand. People want the game. They want the console. They want the games. And you know, it's all about that. So until they get to a point where they could actually start putting that on the shelf and like pointing to that, it's kind of, I'm wearing the Buffalo Bills hat, right? So I'm an NFL fan, a football fan. There's a saying in football. There's a saying in football. Winning cures all. Like if you're on a losing team, you're gonna come up with all sorts of excuses. Oh, we have a crappy punter, or our running back sucks, and this and this. Oh, we called the wrong play. Why did we hand the ball off? We should have thrown. The second you start winning, all of that shit goes away. Like all of a sudden, everything's golden.
Right.
And the same
that's
concept
help
here.
The most. Right.
Like the only thing that's going to really help this situation is like getting people to play the console. And you were talking about like I think you were talking about the N64 earlier or whatever. We were talking about, I forget what it was, but I was thinking earlier. I was thinking back to when the N64 came out, and honestly, like a lot of the discourse between the Amico fans and the Amico detractors really reminded me of like the old. It was kind of like the old console wars of like the early, like the Super Nintendo Genesis days, where there's just like a lot of animus between both sides, but only there's no product on the other side on this one. It's just you either like the Amico or you hate it. And
For some reason, I'm not even really sure why. I don't
know.
I don't really. I like.
Well, and that's what I was trying to figure out. Like, I would understand it more if there was like, there's the Intellivision Amico, and then there's like the Coleco
ColecoVision.
Yeah, the Coleco fratricide.
The fratricide. What?
Fratricide, because Amico is Italian for brother. So fratricide.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah, but
Okay.
like, so if there were those two warring factions, then I would completely understand it more. But absent that, it's kind of weird that there are detractors when there's nothing.
Well, he did do some old like console war stuff, Tommy, with the Nintendo comments and Nintendo.
Oh, did he?
Nintendo fans are very passionate. That's all.
Yes, they are.
Uh,
As an old school Sega fan, yes,
Yeah.
Nintendo fans.
So I mean, he brought a little bit on himself. I must admit.
Fair enough.
Well, it kind of seems like he's brought maybe 40% of this on himself.
Well,
on some level.
I like his passion. I like that he's not the typical CEO. Like I have no. I like all this stuff. I think it's funny, but I understand why it can offend some people. Zeno says I don't see the mobile market as valid market for Amico. He feels that it's in between. There's a market there because listen, the newer generations are, and the reason that a lot of the games have the style and graphics that are very similar to mobile phone doesn't mean they're that shallow or hollow, because a lot of mobile phone games are very simple.
Well, I got the sense watching that video that the target demo is kind of the same as like the Nintendo Wii from way back.
But he feels there's a market that's in between the cell phone and Nintendo Wii that's not being as targeted as much as Nintendo had in the past.
Yeah.
So
Maybe.
I don't disagree with that.
No.
I mean,
do graphics matter anymore at all? I mean,
it
really?
depends on who you ask.
It's like one thing. It's one thing when you can't do it.
We like chunky pixels, but if you're getting like under 10-year-old, they're used to mobile. That may be more appealing. That's like the biggest change was Finnegan Fox was a pixel art game, and then it switched to more mobile style graphics. But that's going to be appealing to the younger generation.
I have an 8-year-old daughter, and it's like, we play. She loves Breath of the Wild, but we play Horizon Zero Dawn. She doesn't like that game any more or less than Breath of the Wild because it looks so much more real. She doesn't give a crap about that. Yeah, and the thing is that when we were like, graphics were always the like metric to some degree. It's like, have you seen the graphics on this? Oh my God. Have you seen Super Cobra on the Atari 5800? It's unbelievable, or whatever it is. But at this point, we've maxed graphics, dude. I mean, we've done it. You know what I'm saying? That's not so much a thing anymore. It's not. It's like, if you really want great graphics, that's out there for you. You can get it. There's lots of avenues for it. But maybe there's other gameplay experiences. Like I joked last on our video, I was like, hey, that ball in the string with the cup is pretty fun if you ever get one. You know what I mean? For a little while. I mean, the thing is
oh, sorry. I have to address a super chat. Thank you, Tony. And I know. Max, keep it real. Tommy said Switch had CP on it. He was using that as a marketing tactic, maybe not appropriate. Of course, you're going to bring this up, Tony. I think we should move on, but he's addressed this multiple times as to try to say this Nintendo. Who's the Nintendo president that died? Iwata?
Yeah.
Yeah. Nintendo was more strict with things they would have on their platform. And then after he passed, they let more things on. So he was trying, for better or for worse, Tommy was using the angle of our system's not going to have these issues. And it rightfully so, it upset some Nintendo passionate fans.
Wait, what does CP mean?
Yeah, what does CP mean?
I don't want to say it on air because it's fair enough. Inappropriate stuff on minors, inappropriate stuff like anime type stuff with in Japan is actually accurate.
Tommy's got to mind his P's and Q's, dude. You know what I'm saying?
That's fair.
It's like he's trying to launch a fucking a console.
But that's so market, I just wanted to quickly call out everyone talks about y'all don't go after like other CEOs or other companies that are like even more horrible. And I'm like, yeah, because they're not saying dumb shit like
no, but
Nintendo
I
has
think
these types of games on their console. Like
but it's
you
still,
don't
it is
like you
true,
don't see
though.
the CEO of Pepsi
Right.
saying Coca-Cola like has like rat droppings in it. Like no, that's like
If he did, though, that
you
might be
don't do
effective.
that.
Someone's gonna believe that.
But
You know what I mean?
You know
It's
what?
like-
I
But-
think
but-
that he needs to say it honestly. That's a
but-
great
but-
because
Well, have you guys
then
does anyone watch Mr. Show?
I,
Oh,
really.
dude, there's a bit on Mr. Show exactly about that. This company comes out and they're called Fairsley's,
But
and
it
they're
is
like,
true, though. It is true that they have that. They had some visual novels that had some really sus stuff there. That's in it. Well, we know anime has some extremely
No.
sus.
Oh yeah,
That's,
yeah,
if you get on the Nintendo store, because
Yeah.
I get on there with my
No, I
daughter,
mean,
and I look at new games, there's
You have
straight up games where it's like,
Well,
oh,
can we
this is
agree
on the
that you
Nintendo store?
can we agree that he may have should have done it more tactfully if he's going
Oh, absolutely. Like
So I think it.
I don't think he should have done it at all. I think he
Okay.
should have been in there trying to figure out how to get his console out ASAP. You know what I'm saying? I'm sorry. It's like
All
it's
I'm
like
saying-
clock cycles. It's like when you're programming a computer and you know waste your clock cycles on this. It's like he's wasting clock cycles on fucking Nintendo hats and shitty about Columbus Day when he's got a console that's behind schedule. You know, I'm sorry. I didn't mean
there's only so much you
Well,
can
no,
do
it's-
about
No,
a
it's
lot of
true.
that.
Yeah, no,
I
that's
don't censor
I totally
opinions
get
here.
that.
Feel free to say what you. I feel it's a talking point, but you have to be careful if you bring it up. My personal opinion. Yeah.
My thing is that like okay, we've seen like like semi personality driven like presentations for games, like let's say like Randy Pitchford for example, like he had a little bit of controversy himself, like a couple years ago or so, right before Borderlands 3 came out. Like he was saying some pretty like off the wall stuff. He kind of like almost got canceled, things like that. I forget exactly what he was doing, but I think he was being a creep and kind of like physically assaulting employees and things like that. Like
That'll do
dude,
it.
like physical assault like trumps online discourse in my mind. But he was able to bounce back from it because okay, Borderlands 3 maybe not as good as Borderlands 2, but still like it was a solid game, did pretty well, and it was a solid product. Like, and
I'm sorry, who
like
did you say?
Okay.
Oh, you don't agree with Borderlands 3
No,
being a solid
no.
product?
What was the person that you said?
Randy Pitchford.
Randy Pitchford.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
Well, Swami Els does give. I think this is accurate. He did. I mean, context too. Still, we're not happy with the comment, but people kept pushing to be specific of how Amico is more family friendly than Switch. So he honestly answered, maybe too honestly.
But with a hat? Was it on a
Well, like
hat?
the
I'm
point,
sorry.
the point I was trying to make was that, like, okay, yeah, we've seen like video game leader representatives, whatever, make social faux pas and even like things that could still potentially, like be unforgivable socially or like by certain audiences. But their main audience was able to forgive them for the sake of the product that they ultimately put out. So yeah, like to the point that y'all Yield Nerdcast was like saying earlier about like just put the console out. Like if your target audience doesn't even know who you are yet, great, like just keep quiet until like you have the final product out, and then like lay all of like the concerns to rest. I think like where I'm at, like okay, I can forgive all the, like the social media, like back and forth and things like that, because I just want the hardware at the end of the day. And I think ultimately that is what is going to quell a lot of the people's concerns around like where this console belongs in like the gaming world, and like the ecosystem of like products we already have available, and for folks who are like who are kind of detractors on like the quality of evidence of gameplay that we've gotten. Granted, it hasn't been like, in my opinion, like a lot of the gameplay has been obscured, like to the point where I can't really tell like how the controllers operate and things like that. So that is a point of contention that I have as well. But I'm willing to wait like the 1, 2, whatever amount of years it's going to take for this console to come out potentially. Other folks may not be as willing to do that. But Max, like I guess to like pivot back to you as someone who is more kind of like on the edge of their seat looking for more like I guess evidence of this console's production.
I understand that there's issues with the pandemic, but I also think we kind of just, it's going to get past the point of relevancy if we keep talking about the same games for another year. Like say it can't come out till next summer, and we still have to see Astro Smash and be excited about Astro Smash. I'm excited about Astro Smash. I played a little bit of Astro Smash. I love Moon Patrol, and Moon Patrol is like, there's a demo that you can play on your phone. It's nothing like it when you actually, the Amico controller is really good. It's really like you get that instant feel. It's really a great controller. But if I have to talk about the same games that are like 2 years old and I still can't actually play it, it's gonna get to a point where it's gonna get ridiculous. I mean, some people may already think that way and ask for the refund. I actually think now's the best time to get in on the pre-order because there have been some people that have canceled, and now you're gonna have a less time to wait now. Because I think it's close to getting into production. I don't know if it is. I would like, if we don't hear any announcement by the 2022 of saying it's, even if it's not out yet, that it's in the factories being made, we have to wait a few months, then I think it's a big problem. Because I can't talk about these same, unless they, the only other alternative to that is they like hammer new games like one after another. Like new game, killer app, like Earthworm Jim, full gameplay or something like that. That might turn it around. But I honestly think we need something like that. And I'm going to stick around because I'm the hardcore and I know the guy and I want to support. Like I in my YouTube career, I want to support anything that brings something new to entertainment. I really want to. And in my past, I went a little crazy on entertainment of like Star Wars and stuff like that. But now I want to support people in the entertainment industry. I want new products, especially if it doesn't affect the other. It's a new thing. It's something new. So I will stick there, but I don't think a lot of people are going to stick there with another year talking about Astro Smash and it's still not out.
I guess my question is this though. It's like, why not? What is it asking from anybody? The thing is like, if it doesn't come out in 6 months, who gives a shit? I mean, if it's one thing if you gave them your money and you're like, I want a console, I get that, sure. But if you haven't and you're just like, I like video games. These guys say they're going to make some new video games. I'd like to play those video games. Why? They haven't asked anything of you. It's like, well, they didn't come out when I wanted it to come out. So God damn it, I'm never going to play it again. Fuck that guy. I mean, I don't see what that does. Like, what's the point of that? It's just like, oh, you guys are going to make a cool thing? All right, man. Well, let me know when it's done. I'll check out Dolphin Quest. You know what I'm saying? I laugh because Dolphin Quest. I thought that title was a funny title.
That's kind of where I'm at too, as someone who paid full retail for a pre-order. Like I have no shortage of games to play until this thing comes out, whenever it does. So that's where I'm at as well. Like it's the speculative sort of like discussion around it. Like is kind of like more. I have a morbid curiosity around for myself.
Oh, I'll admit, I watch critic videos all the time. Even people I really and I disagree with them. But it is a circus.
The Star Wars rabbit hole in particular.
Why will no one address the fact that inside sources said that the console would have been manufactured last year, but Tom wanted cheaper prices and waited? I cannot fault. Now, maybe poor planning, and what he's saying is he did a video. He's also a content creator that's extremely critical. Some say rightfully so. Some, you judge for yourself. You could link it. He's done some super chats. You can link his channel if you want, Rhea, in the chat if you want to check him out. He's done a lot of content on this. I actually think your video could have been accurate, Tony, but I don't fault the guy for wanting to get a better profit margin. When again we come back to this isn't the typical type of console release where you make profits on supplementary stuff. There's no charging cables. The controllers charge right in the console. There's not a lot of profit opportunities on supplemental stuff. It's all in one. It's basically an all-in-one thing. So you're going to want to have the best profit margins also for like GameStop as their partner. GameStop, they want to make it where GameStop is going to want to push it. So you're giving a better profit margin than they get on PS5s and Series X for the Amico, because you want them to display it and have people play it in store and push it more because the profit margins are so great. And then the pandemic threw a big kink in that. He could have pulled from Tony's content. He said that he could have pulled the trigger right before the pandemic hit, but he waited to get a better price. And then when the pandemic hit, the prices went through the roof. So hey, man, if we were all in that situation, we might have done the same thing. We might have done the same thing and like, oh man,
I did do
And
the
then
same thing.
And you want it to come back, and then you're waiting for it to come back down, and it never does. It never comes. Like people would fight tooth and nail to get prices they could pre-pandemic, but he waited, and it was maybe a bad decision, and we could have already had it by now. I think Tony, that you may be accurate in your assumption there, but I don't fault him for it either, because wanting profits, especially if there's investors, if he is getting investors, he has to think about those people's investment. So he wants to make it profitable for his investors too. So I can't really fault him for that, wanting a better price. In retrospect, we can all say like, oh, he should have done it now that we know, but no one knew the shit was going to hit the fan like it did. No one knew. Even when it started to come out, we didn't know it was going to last this long, or, no one knew. It is an unprecedented event. But I think your criticism there is fair, Tony.
It's kind of like, I don't know how many people here are avid followers of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but it's kind of like the blip, like,
yes,
like 5 years ago when Thanos snapped his fingers and half the population disappeared. Then 5 years later, half the population just comes back and like it throws everything into chaos. That's kind of like what happened. Like, at the start of the pandemic, it was like a snap, and all of a sudden the supply chains all around the world are just like grinding to a halt, and like people are losing their jobs left and right.
Like a blip.
And then all of a sudden, like, we're starting to come out of it, and like, you start to see things, open back up again. People are out and about. People are acting like things are back to normal, relatively speaking. But like the supply chains haven't caught up with that. You've got all sorts of problems with our ports. You've got all sorts of shortages with the minerals that we need to create computer chips and processors and all that shit. And it's just like a mountain of shit that just kind of came out of nowhere on both sides. And I made the same mistake. Like I had it in my mind to build my own PC, and I bought a few of the components before the pandemic. But I was holding off on like the bigger ticket purchases, namely the graphics card, because I was like, it's pretty expensive. I'm gonna wait. And then the pandemic hit, and I was one of the unfortunate people that lost my job due to COVID. And after that, I did get another one pretty quickly after. But because I had to go through that experience, I was like, all right, I'm not spending money on shit. Because who knows what's going to happen, in the next
we
couple
could be
months.
Fighting with human femurs before this is over.
I could be fucking a Badlands drifter with a machete, hunting for my dinner. Who knows? But like at the end of this, at the end of all of that stuff, like when I started to do the Twitch stream again, I was like, you know what? I sat on this for too long. I'm actually going to go through and finish building my PC. And lo and behold, all the pieces that I needed were super fucking expensive. Like, and I was
trying to build one.
I finished, actually. That's what I'm streaming on right now.
Good.
It took the will of God to get me to use my credit card for that purchase, because it was so expensive. It was so ungodly expensive.
And too, you're gonna buy it, and then like in 6 months, it's gonna be like, hey, we're giving video cards away for free. That's like, it's a video card giveaway. We got video cards everywhere.
God. Don't say that.
Zeno, it is in escrow, and people can get their I know people have gotten their refunds. That's how I got my Founders, is someone else probably canceled their Founders edition. So, yeah.
I did just want to do a quick time check. So yeah, like we're coming in on 2 hours, and I just wanted to make sure everyone's still good on time and to give everyone a chance.
I love these.
I'm loving hearing Devin and Justin just like wax poetic. Like it's great.
Well,
I did just want to be cognizant of time though, because everyone here is grown. Everyone has a life offline, I would hope. So
we keep David Spade comments. He looks like a better looking.
That Nerdcast guy reminds me of David Spade.
Yeah, that's not the first time that's come up.
Wait, what's that?
That's someone else said that too. Someone.
Somebody commented. Somebody commented on one of our videos that he looks like Tom Petty. So he's getting all sorts of shout outs on that. That's funny. I never thought David Spade, but I guess I could see that. As far as time goes, I think we're generally okay. We still do need to shoot something here. So maybe another 10-15 minutes. Is that cool?
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, we can actually just kind of like give our closing thoughts and share social media. I've been doing that throughout the show, but yeah, y'all can like shout out, the shows that y'all are working on and things like that. Any projects coming up we should keep an eye out on.
All right.
Are we first?
Go for it.
Ye Olde Nerdcast on YouTube as well as Twitch, twitch.tv/Ye Olde Nerdcast. I try to stream every Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday at around 8 p.m. Central. I'm still trying to hammer out the specifics on what my schedule is going to look like, but I think I've settled on that for the time being. And if you can't make the stream, no worries. I do edit and put up clips on the YouTube channel. That's how the Amico fan base found me there. But as far as God, son of a bitch, what the fuck? I keep stepping on my little headphone jack, and then I can't hear anybody. So,
okay,
there we go. Yeah, as far as planned content, I'm like you, Max. I don't plan shit. I just fly by the seat of my pants at all times.
That's my channel. Yes.
So who knows? I do want to do some gameplay throughs. There's a demo I played the other day on the Nintendo Switch. I think it's also going to be available on Steam called Okinawa Rush. It's a really awesome
yes,
pixel.
I have that pre-ordered.
You have that pre-ordered?
Yes.
Awesome.
I have I've jumped the shark with my funds buying physical products, and that was one of the ones I put the pre-order in before I stopped spending money. But yes, I have a physical edition coming.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yes.
Because the funny thing is, I actually grew up on Okinawa, Japan. And when I saw that, I was like, oh, snap, who the fuck is making a game about Okinawa? So I just decided to play it to see what it was like. And it turns out it's awesome. It's super fun. And I had a blast playing it. So I was like, okay, I'm going to play this. I'm going to do a playthrough when it's released. So I know that much is coming. But as far as after that, Justin and I, we're about to talk about Star Wars Visions.
Awesome.
He's a huge Star Wars person. So
so am I.
The
majority of my content here is about movies and TV shows and streaming. So if you want to come back and talk about that stuff, feel free.
Absolutely. Yeah, but prior to the Twitch channel, most of our stuff was about movies and TV shows and stuff too. I just started introducing the gaming element to it because, I'm a nerd. I'm a gaming nerd, so why not inject a little bit of that?
I definitely sub to you guys. I think there's a few people. I'm very interested now.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yes.
And anybody watching this, please sub and like and share and all that. I'm a fucking terrible self-promoter. The worst in the world.
We both are.
So we never
I also did want to shout out Tony from the Geek Getaway, who was in the chat. He actually shared a video, your Amico video, to me, and that's how I reached out and got in touch. So cool. I definitely appreciate you making time to come and chat with us today. It means a lot, and hopefully we can collab on other non-Amico related content in the future, like movie discussion, stuff like that. I don't know if y'all are planning to see Venom, but that would also be a spicy topic for us to kind of do a spoilers discussion on, maybe a week or so after the movie comes out, if y'all are into that.
Yeah, I'm gonna see that on Sunday actually. Justin, not so much with the comic book movies.
Yeah, it's weird. I'm all in on Star Wars, way in, but I've never really gotten into comic book stuff. I watch them occasionally, but I just you read comic books a lot.
Yes.
I never even read comic. I was more reading Dungeons and Dragons books, like Dragonlance and Forgotten Realms books.
And I'm lucky because I have Rhea here running a show more professional than I ever do. So I don't know. Where are you pimping your channel, or are you just going to do shows for me? I'm good either way. You can just
no, y'all talking about free graphics cards. I'm like, shit, I need one. That's what's holding me back from doing my own show. Because right now, I'm just supporting Max and supporting my friends with their streams and trying to grow our community of folks that we discuss stuff with. So I'm glad we can have y'all join us tonight.
Yeah,
well, I'm not afraid to address criticism, so I will highlight this. Question for supporters: with the SEC and FTC involvement, along with, I'm not going to say the allegations, I do not believe he is. I've met him personally, and he follows a lot of, if you read his full Reddit post, he follows a lot of different opinions on Twitter. I think that's a bad precedent to start, that just because you follow someone that you're certain things. So I also don't but I've talked with him about this. He wants to promote his console too, but he might have also followed certain individuals because of a YouTube video. That I think we can't jump logic there and say this makes him this. That's a bad precedent to start canceling people based on who they follow on Twitter, I think. And
Yeah,
me
like
personally.
I mentioned before, like I'm buying the console. I'm not buying like the personality that's unfortunately attached to it. So that's
I'm
where
buying
I'm
it for both. I'm still a huge fan of Tommy, but I feel Rhea. I appreciate her saying her opinions there. Now with the SEC and FTC involvement, if there was a something that wasn't done correctly with the Jay Allard thing, they had a right to investigate. I don't know the specifics because there was a person that worked on the original Xbox that was a consultant, and there's some discrepancies there of when he stopped and when he stopped working as a partner for Intellivision. I don't know the specifics. If it was investigated, hopefully everything was by the book. If not, I can't answer that part. I don't know.
Yeah,
But
I think that like the SEC and FTC investigations pertaining to the reputation portion of that question is I don't think anybody's reputation is going to be tainted by someone's SEC investigation.
Well, it was more based on the Jay Allard because they were for potential new investors. They were saying we got the guy that worked on the original Xbox.
Yeah, I did see that in the video, or I saw in the article rather.
Certain date and when his name was removed for investor sites. So
yeah,
I mean that is a fair talking point. I just don't know. I assume positive intent and that hopefully it was done by the book, but I don't know for sure. It doesn't, as long as I get the product, that part doesn't factor into me too.
Yeah.
If I was an investor, then I might be more interested in that. I think that's fair. If I was an investor, I want to know that the best people are working on it and then everything is by the book and the dates are specific. If I was investing in it, I would be more concerned with that. As just a person, I am not an investor. Also, people think that I'm so positive about it because I don't have the money to invest in it. I probably would have at a certain point. Would I have invested now? Probably not, because I want to make sure. If I was an investor now, I would want to know specific dates of when this is coming out. And
so let me ask you then.
And I might want to invest, but not now. No.
If they release the console, let's say they do have to delay it, but they delay it to June, July, and they release it sometime over the summer. And you get it, and it's what you hoped it to be. Would you invest then? Like, do you believe in Tommy Tallarico as an executive and the company in general to make an investment if they were able to at least get to market?
If I knew for sure it was coming out and I didn't. Oh, go ahead, Rhea. Go ahead.
Ooh, that's actually something I wanted to touch on too. Like, I think as soon as they release the console, they'll be in a much better position to be bought by another company, and that will probably solve all their problems. Their marketing and production will be streamlined by another bigger company with existing relationships and experience managing communities and communication and things like that. It'll be in retail stores, no longer having to rely on crowdfunding. All that controversy is under the bridge now. And and Tommy can go off and buy another antiquated video game company from the 70s.
Rhea.
ColecoVision, I'm telling you.
Yeah, dude.
I love you, Rhea, but you really are not too much. You're just a fan of which is fair. You're just a fan of the product.
Well, I mean, in all, that was actually going to be my point. Say they do sell to another company.
Yeah.
What happened? Usually when that happens, the guy in charge, whether it's Nolan Bushnell or whoever, eventually is gone. You know what I mean? Especially when someone is this vocal and this out front, and their personality and some of their stuff almost eclipses. And granted, it's easy right now because there's not much that you have to eclipse. There's no console. There's only a scant thing of different games designed. So his personality, again, like Devin said, it can loom larger than the actual product. But when now all of a sudden it's like, okay, well, all our problems are solved, all this money, but now someone else is in charge, or a whole board of people are in charge, and maybe they don't really want me or Tommy, I was Tommy in that scenario. Maybe they don't want Tommy on Twitter, answering all the various critiques, you know what I mean, or whatever. Maybe they say, hey, listen, you can't do that. We need you to just go over here and make sure the console comes out or work on the version 2 or whatever. Is he going to be cool with that? I mean, are the same things that make him such a dynamic personality online the same things that make him maybe not a corporate
knowing
player?
him, he wants it to be a success. He could potentially sell in the future, and hopefully the employees keep their jobs and everything like that. If it moves on in any way, I think he'll be happy with it. Does he need to personally be involved for the whole life of it? I don't think necessarily no. That might, like someone said, Degrassi, Rhea just described the plan, and that's not a bad plan. If you make a successful thing and sell off, and it lives on.
Oh, dude, it's the American
people,
dream.
And people have jobs. Like I know he said that he wants the television brand to continue, and there are some people that work there that were at the beginning, and create a new thing for the video game industry. I think he'd be happy enough with that.
Yeah, no, like just to kind of like go back to closing the loop on everyone's like social media handles, next projects and things like that. I did want to be cognizant of time. Yeah, anything else that we should know about from Yield Nerdcast or Max on before we wrap up the show?
No, just follow us on YouTube and or Twitch, whichever you prefer to get your content from. Yield Nerdcast, give us likes and all that shit. Share the links, and hopefully you enjoyed our contribution. I enjoyed talking to you guys. This was a blast. It was very insightful too. So, I mean, thank you for having us. Thank you for inviting us, reaching out. That was cool.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Hopefully we can collab again in the future.
Sure, I'm up for it. And I'm still a fan of Tommy in a television. No matter what Reyes says. I like both. I want them both to succeed. I'm buying it for the console and because I like Tommy and I like his personality. I'm cool with it, but whatever. I understand, though. I understand. But I appreciate how Rhea just lays it out. She gives her honest opinion. I really appreciate that, though. So
and Rhea, you did an awesome job.
Yes,
running this
excellent
whole thing.
job.
So
because we can go so long.
2 hours is nothing for us.
We've actually talked for like over an hour and been like, oh crap, the microphones weren't on. It's like we're not even recording. We're just sitting here.
And if you like Star Wars, we have a Star Wars Skywalker Saga retrospective on our site that I subtitled "Watch a Sunset in Real Time" because you literally see a sunset in real time throughout the course of our talking about Star Wars.
Was that before Rise of Skywalker came out?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes, that was
before. We were still positive. Okay.
But that's a discussion for another time.
Oh, I could discuss that a lot too.
Yeah.
All right, I think it's a good point. And I'm 2 hours is too much. After 2 hours, I start losing steam.
Oh yeah, this is a long convo, but yeah, thanks everyone for making it awesome, and yeah, hopefully we can do this again in the future.
Okay, Ray, and then I'm going to put you full screen. You end the show. So more Rhea content. Subscribe now.
Maybe subscribe for potential content. Maybe, but yeah.
Maybe.
Bye.
All right, thanks, Rhea. Everyone, give props to Rhea.
Yay! Thank you, Rhea.
Bye, everyone.